One of the most common questions I get is, can I talk more about garbage? So theoretically, whenever I post a new location, thousands of people might flock there. Many of them would bring snacks and food and, maybe not be too responsible at picking all that up. All that trash then goes into the ecosystem, causes damage. It's not nice to look at. It's not something I really talk about, and a lot of people have been asking me, why not? Why don't I, use my platform to educate the public on, how to be responsible, something like that. And so this video, I'll bring up a few of the reasons why I kind of stopped talking about that, and it's not something I really focus on anymore. And I say that I don't do it anymore because in the beginning, when I first started going out, I tried to do a few public awareness campaigns. I tried to create something called One Piece, where if everybody just went into the nature, if they just brought one piece of garbage out with them, then, very quickly there'd be a net negative of trash in nature. And of course, the more people go, the more clean it would get. And that never really caught on. Nobody really shared it. Maybe it has something to do with hashtag One Piece already being used for something else, which I was unaware of at the time. And the reason I started that to begin with was because, anytime you want to do a mass cleanup, then you need a lot of volunteers, you need a budget, you need trucks, and all that's much more complicated. If you just take out one piece, it's not like a burden for you. It's still something I practice quietly by myself. But it didn't work out, so I tried something new. And I went out and I started exposing these garbage dumps in the forest. The news called them garbage waterfalls. And they got a lot of attention, went viral on social media. The EPA got involved, a lot of volunteers got involved. And anytime I would post a garbage waterfall, they would go out and clean them. And then you'd see headlines like 7 tons of trash pulled out of the mountain. And because of that, people started sending me tips. And they'd be like, hey, over by my house, there's this garbage dump, and it really bothers me. I reported it, and nothing happened. And so I'd go, and then I'd film it and post it publicly. And because I, knew the reporters from the previous videos that I posted, I would send it to them in advance, and it would get, immediately into the news. Same thing happened. People go out, clean it. And so those were working really well. They were getting a lot of attention. They were getting a lot of results. And I felt pretty good about it. And so I went out and I filmed many, many more. Even though I filmed many, many more, I actually didn't end up publishing them. I stopped doing the trash waterfalls. So today I'll tell you why. When I first went out and filmed the first few trash waterfalls, I kind of found them accidentally. It felt like I was discovering something new, exposing something new. I would find some secret garbage dump out in the forest. But as I started intentionally looking for them and going around and, trying to expose more of them, what I realized is that these are not secret garbage dumps. That's not what they are. There isn't a couple bad actors out there just going around dumping trash in the forest. What I realized is that these are public dumping sites. All throughout Taiwan, in the mountains, there are thousands and thousands of these garbage waterfalls, and they are not secret. Everybody who lives near them knows where they are. Maybe they use them. Everybody knows about them. All the cars who drive by can see them. All the kids who, jog by or whatever, they can all see them. Okay, these are not secret. This is the organized method of distributing garbage in the countryside. If you look at any bend in the road, you're going to see trash bags and things like that, but just literally every single bend of the road. Stop, look over the edge, you'll see them. And, every kilometer or two, you'll see one of these big trash waterfalls. And also behind every single farm, each farm will have its own trash waterfall. What you see here is, for lack of a better word, is normal. Okay? This is just normal. There's nothing strange or unusual or unique in this video. This is the situation. And so when things become commonplace, they're mundane, they're regular, they kind of lose their appeal, they become less interesting, and so I just stopped talking about it. You could say I was sort of desensitized to it. I also didn't really see the point. I could go post a trash waterfall, probably would go get cleaned up, But I didn't expose that trash waterfall. I didn't discover that trash waterfall. All the local businesses, everybody, they all knew about it. When I post it, all I'm doing is like embarrassing somebody into looking at this specific location, and so it's taken care of, but it doesn't actually solve the problem. And then that dumping site is just, moved 100 meters down the road. I haven't really accomplished much because this is a systemic problem, right? This is the system of trash disposal in the countryside. Like, this is something really, really important that everybody watching this understands, that this is the system of trash disposal in the countryside. So as far as like the percentages of trash that end up in the river, once you get far enough away from a settlement, it's basically all of it. There's probably like a 50-50 chance that it goes into a big pile and then it's burned, in which case it just sort of turns to liquid and then goes into the river because these sort of home trash fires don't burn hot enough to destroy the chemicals that are and pollutants that are in garbage, or it just gets tossed in the forest. Anything that gets tossed in the forest eventually makes its way down to the river. Could be a week, it could be a year. It doesn't matter. For all intents and purposes, anything that's thrown in the forest might as well just be directly thrown into the river. And we see it in the river. So when somebody comes to me and complains about a tourist, this place was popular and they left 5 bottles or something. Yeah, that's not something that should happen. Like, people should take all of their garbage out with them. But when we look at the garbage in the river, like the percentage of garbage in the river and where it comes from, that's so minuscule. It's hard for me to get really upset about it because kayak down the river, we'll see 5 or 6 of these trash waterfalls. Well, last time they went and cleaned up these trash waterfalls, there's headlines like 7 tons, 10 tons, 20 tons. 20 tons is about 1 million plastic bottles. And there's thousands and thousands of these everywhere. And it's not just plastic bottles. It's we see refrigerators in there, which have PCBs probably in them. And we see car batteries and scooter engines. And, sometimes you'll even see CRT televisions. And these are all really toxic stuff. So it's 99% of all the garbage that you'll see. That 99% is too weak. 99.9999999% of all the garbage that we see in the river is either from industry, like food production or manufacturing out in the countryside, or through domestic consumption in the countryside, or people who go out into the countryside and consume it. And so even if people took their bottles, if they're in a very rural area, if they took them and threw them in a trash can, I'm not convinced they wouldn't end up in the river anyway, because we see all these dumping sites which kind of look like somebody just backed a truck up to the edge of the road and dumped a truckload of garbage into the river. So, if you went to a hotel and you were very careful, you guys went out, you came back, everything you brought with you, you put in the trash can there, and the hotel, they hire a service to come and take away their trash. I'm not convinced that service wouldn't just go cut corners and dump it in the river. And they probably don't all do that, but enough of them do that this is what we see. It's what we see everywhere. Sorry for all the doom and gloom. If you weren't aware of the situation, now you are. Anyway, so the highest density trash rivers that we see are everything in Nantou, everything in Hsinchu County, everything in Heping districts. But it's not in just those areas. If you go lower down in Beigong River, which is not that far from the city, you still see the same thing. It looks like organized dumping, even near my house, here in Taidong, 15 minutes from the public landfill. You'll see stuff like this on the side of the road, and it's not uncommon. Okay, if this was a unique thing, I would be outraged and I would post a video and say, this is the location and we got to find out who did it and blah, blah, blah. We got to clean it up and there better be some fines, right? But it's just normal, right? It's just normal. So cleaning up one of them isn't going to make any meaningful difference. it would be pretty shitty of me to post this video and just lay that out there without offering any solutions. So I'm just going to like offer a few ideas that I think, might help. If I were to design a program to fix this issue, this is how I would do it. So although I haven't been making videos on this, every now and then I do go and like talk to some government officials, usually the city level. I have given like some speeches on it. And whenever I like hear from the people involved, usually their like answer is, yeah, it's not my jurisdiction, like we clean up the trash around here. And yeah, I'm like, well, the trash around here it flows down the river. That's like everything from the top of the river goes to the bottom of the river. That's just a fact. Given enough time, it's going to get there. And they're like, yeah, but it's not our jurisdiction. And what they mean by that is that they can't apply for a budget to take care of something anywhere else. The first thing that like needs to be done is to change the way like the jurisdiction and the budgeting works for this. And because, it covers all of Taiwan and the trash flows across many different counties and townships, maybe it needs to be done at the national level. Because like, let's be clear, like these are not problems that education and public awareness and all that stuff can fix, okay? These are problems that money can fix, right? They can be fixed by money. So the first thing I would do, create like a body or task force who is responsible for it and has the jurisdiction to implement whatever things they come up with. The second thing I would do is to go out and do a survey, right? So we got to like know where they are so we know where it is, and that would help us make better decisions about how to take care of it. But already I can kind of tell you where it is. One is every single farm. Just go in a satellite photo, look at all the farms in the mountain. Every single one of those farms has a trash waterfall. And, they're surrounding every like village. And then just like on the main road, at every single bend in the road, there's like garbage bags that people have tossed over. That's where you start to look, but still it should be like put on a map and quantified so you know how to budget things and how to allocate your resources. And by the way, the reason that this needs to be done is because like the rural areas don't have the budget to take care of it. Nobody wants trash all around their village, okay? There's not a good system of taking away the garbage. There's not a good system of like disposing the garbage. And, maybe it's like possible, but it's not convenient. Like you in the city, you probably throw away your trash a couple times a week. Some people do it every day. For these farms that you see there, your garbage truck might come 5 times a week. Their garbage truck comes once every never. It doesn't come. They're like, left with like the whole responsibility of like figuring it out and putting it on trucks and driving it away or burning it, which is ineffective. People aren't rich. At some point they're gonna say like, you know what? I can save time and money by throwing it into the forest, right? Out of sight, out of mind. It's whoever saves downriver's problem. And so if you live at the top of the mountain, right, and you keep throwing trash over, you might not ever see it. It all goes downriver. So the money has to come from the city. And the argument for the money coming from the city, like the tax on the people who live in cities, which is where most of the economic value comes from, is that cities don't exist in a vacuum. The countryside supports the cities. All like large urban centers, they rely on huge tracts of land to provide them with food and supplies. The city doesn't exist without the countryside. These are like interconnected economic systems. And so trash generated in the process of production for food and products for the city is indirectly trash produced by the consumers in the city. That's the argument for where the money comes from. And you just need to accept that argument because there's not money anywhere else, right? So if you want it taken care of, that's where it has to come from. So step 3 is that you need to design that convenient system. And again, I emphasize convenient because if it's not convenient, people won't use it. So all I would do is take the data from your previous step, which did a survey or wherever it is, and then take 1,000 20-foot trash compacting containers, just put 1,000 of them in the countryside. And then 24 hours at any time, people can go and dump trash there. And so, if they can put the trash on a truck and drive it for a few minutes and dump that truck, as long as you got one of these a few hours away, then why not just dump it into those trash compactors and don't charge anything for it, right? This is important. It's got to be free because if people can save money by dumping it over the side of the road, they're probably going to do that. Provide a good, easy, and free alternative to garbage collection. Maybe there's a better way than that, but that's my idea. And then once a week or once every 2 weeks, just go and pick up those containers. Simple as that. So now that we've created a budget, we've got our data, and we've created a convenient system for how to collect it, the next thing that we need to do is create like an incentive program, something that incentivizes the disposal of trash into ways that like it can be collected. That is important. And the last system would be enforcement, because if it's convenient and easy and you're incentivized to do it, then there's no reason to throw trash out in the middle of nowhere. There's no reason to throw it in nature. And then you can start having these like enforcement and fines and penalties. Of course, we have those now, but there's no point to it, because like when there's not a good, viable way to dispose of your trash, people aren't going to do it. And when it's like so commonplace and everybody's trash goes that way, like nobody's going to report it. I'm not joking when I say that these trash waterfalls are not secret. Everybody in the countryside knows there's one behind every farm. Everybody in the countryside knows that there's like 4, 5, 6 of them within a few minutes of their house. This is the current system of organized trash disposal. The only way you can fix it is with a different system that's organized better. And that would take out 99.99999% of all the trash in the river. And then when that happens, come back to me and I'll get really pissed off at some tourist who left a bottle behind, because that bottle will represent a large percentage of the trash in the river. Stopping them would make a big difference. I also think that having a system will create like a self-enforcement in the villages as well. I think that like right now, because trash is just so commonly spread everywhere, it's not really meaningful to get mad at somebody for like dumping trash. It's like your neighbor does it, your other neighbor on the other side does it, your uncle does it. I think that like once create a system where 90% of the trash is being collected, that other 10% will face community backlash from other people in the community and say like, look, hey, we cleaned this place up. We made it nice. Like you got to keep it nice too. Like that's not cool. There's an easy way to dispose of your trash right here. Why aren't you doing it? You have no excuse. And so I think that once that happens, you'll see improvements in all the little stuff too, including the trash from tourism and things like that. It will go a long way. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Those are my ideas. If you have better ideas, let me know in the comment. If there's a really good idea, I will pin it. And good luck. I look forward to the day when we go all the way from the top of the mountain down to the ocean and we don't see any garbage waterfalls. Only nice, clean, fun waterfalls. The kind I usually go to.